G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching my content and giving me the absolute pleasure and the privilege, as always, to talk about the greatest sport in the world, rugby. And you are here today because it's actually Wednesday. I've been really busy yesterday to make this video. So yeah, it's Wednesday and it's time to read some rugby news. Last week was the first round of Six Nations, the first stop to the Rugby World Cup 2023 glory. And man, the pecking order of the favorites of the Rugby World Cup, it's all over the place following the first week of the Six Nations. The Scottish has once again upset the English, this time in Twickenham, this time in front of, 82,000 English fans. And the Superman himself, the South African Duhan van der Merwe, scored 2 tries for Scotland, including a try that many people were saying resembled that of John Lalomu. And it was quite a spectacular performance. This was by probably the best, at least try that he's scored in his entire career. He has admitted after the game that he was, giggling watching the replay. But yeah, quite a spectacular try where he literally ran through 5, maybe 6. I lost count because it was more than the number of fingers on my hand. So I couldn't, I wasn't smart enough to count how many defenders that he actually beaten to score the second try for the Scotland, his first try. And it was amazing. And England was once again suffered a loss. And yeah, so 2 months later, after Eddie Jones has left, yeah, England is still building towards the Rugby World Cup. So yeah, 29-23 was the final score. Van der Merwe also scored the final try to win the game for Scotland. Really kind of put Scotland into the driving seat, and England was failed to catch up with their finishers. Oh wait, sorry, not finishers. My bad. The English reserves wasn't able to do the job for the team once again. Overall, England did have more dominance in terms of run meters, yada yada yada. We all know that, but in the end, yeah, I think it's the kicking game that was a little bit too much for probably both teams' likings, 42 and 37. This was like watching, Warren Gatland's Lions versus the Springboks or something, right? The amount of kicking game in this game was quite outrageous. But unlike the Lions tour, the kicking game was really poor quality, to be really frank, to my likings. With that being said, the finishers, my bad. Game changers, my bad. No. That's what do they call them? The reserves. Yes, reserves. They call them the reserves. Replacements. The replacements of the English. They changed these things so much I can't even keep up. The replacements of the English team failed to finish the game and failed to replace the game. Failed to win the game for England, and English fans thought the Eddie Jones era was over, but obviously this was Eddie Jones' fault, right? Clive Woodward came out and basically in his Daily Mail column blamed again on Eddie Jones. Believe it or not, 2 months later, England had 2 months to adjust the play, blamed again, and they actually made, to be all credit to Borthwick, he actually made changes to a lot of the areas where I thought England was very weak. Under Eddie Jones, he took out a lot of Eddie Jones' favorites and go-to players sort of thing. And yeah, wasn't able to deliver. It is what it is. He made the changes, full what do they call it? A brand new loose forwards. And wasn't able to deliver. It is what it is. But Clive Woodward says that it's Eddie Jones' fault for drilling a play style that made the English players fear playing the game inside their own half. This was programmed by Eddie Jones to minimize risk in their own half. That means there was a lot of box kicking, a lot of kicking the ball away, which is still Eddie Jones' fault. Yeah, okay. And in the same article, he praised Marcus Smith for doing a crossfield kick and allowing whoever it was to score the try, right? Score the first English try. It was a brilliant try. But yeah, that's not Eddie Jones' credit for coaching the kicking game, right? Like, it's Eddie Jones' fault for the kicking, but it's also not Eddie Jones' credit for the good crossfield, for the good kicking that results in a try, right? That's how it works under Sir Clive Woodward. With that being said, there was also a lot of criticism came out for England's obviously coach after the game. He kind of talks about obviously reflecting on the game. He made a really like kind of comment that set a few people off a little bit. He kind of said that there's been a lot of work that needs to be done for England team. What's more importantly, he said that when I look at the team in autumn, we weren't good at anything. It was as frank as that. So he was kind of still like blaming the team for being bad under Eddie Jones that carried into his current position. I mean, you did make the changes, Bothwick. Like, most of the team that was on the field today was different from what Eddie Jones had in autumn. You can't really say that the team is still, Eddie Jones's leftover that's resulted in the issue. So obviously there were a lot of rugby pundits were not happy about this sort of comments. There was pundits from New Zealand, basically. Jamie Ward came out and called this comment bizarre. I kind of agree. He is being in charge. Bothwell has been in charge. He's made the changes, didn't pay out. He can't just continue to go back and blame it on the past for your current performances. With that being said, Richard Cockerell, the England scrum coach, has decided to leave the England camp. He is going to be continually working with England side, but he's confirmed to be going to Montpellier. Montpellier to further his coaching career. And finally, the last bit of news about England is the 10-12 combo. A lot of people came out after the game talking about the 10-12 combo. Andy Goods, Sonny Williams, a lot of people came out and said basically Marcus Smith and Owen Farrell 10-12 combo is not working for the England side. For me, I think that I do think that Marcus probably lacked a little bit of experience at 10, but that's something he can work on. But I do think that the more important part is that Owen Farrell is not really a good 12. He's much better at 10. So I do think that Bothwick needed, if he really wanted to make a big difference to the way that the game is played for the England side, he needs to either consider just putting Owen Farrell at 12 or Owen Farrell at 10 or not having Owen Farrell at all in the starting lineup. It is going to be a difficult position because England really lacks that 12 at the moment. But yeah, I think that is quite frankly what needs to be done at this stage. The two 10 sort of first 5A, second 5A options are not really working out at all for England as of now. One of the things that I would think could potentially happen, this is just my thoughts, is having Marcus Smith at 12 for an attacking option, and in defense, you can just have him play the 10 role and drop back to the fullback position to fullback to be the second fullback. So he won't have to make tackles at the 12 position, but he can still make the gameplay with a bit of wider space, which he does utilize a lot better with a wider space. So I think that could be an option for Bothwick if he's creative enough to have Marcus Smith at 12 in attack, and having him drop back in defense, and having Owen Farrell moving from 10 to 12, obviously, for defensive positions. So that's something that he could potentially try, but we shall see how he actually do with the 10-12 situation as of now. Because the main issue here is I think his Owen Farrell is not that great at 12 with the space that's given to him. So next up, we're talking about centers in England. Henry Ardendale and Henry Slade has returned. Henry Slade had a bit of I think he had a concussion or something. But both the players has been called into the camp to bolster the center position. So yeah, we could potentially see a different center combination out of the England team this weekend. Next up, Wales versus Ireland. 10 points to 34. Ireland absolutely dominated the first half. The game was pretty much out of reach for the Welsh by half time. Essentially, I think it was like 3 tries to just a penalty. Like I think it was two penalties and 3 tries to just 1 penalty for the Welsh. But the Wales did come out much better in the second half. Warren Gatland, I have to give some credit to Warren Gatland here. I mean, a lot of people were talking about how Ireland had the game won, and that's why they kind of like took the gas off the pedal. Sorry, took the foot off the gas pedal in the second half, allowing the Welsh put on a bit of a dominance in the second half over the over Irish, and also the Irish defense was quite good. So the Welsh didn't able to score that many points despite the overwhelming opportunities and dominance that was asserted, afforded to the Welsh side. For me, I did think that all that dominance had more credit to not just Ireland taking the gas off. I do think that Gatlin did have a very specific game plan that was executed. It was executed without a lot of polish, so it was poorly executed. But the game plans I thought was really, really, there was a very clear, at least there was a very clear game plan that the Welsh tried to exploit, especially when it comes to the kicking game. The Welsh was very clearly just kicking, targeting the 40-meter line, the Irish 40-meter, which is the 10-meter line, also called the 10-meter line because it's 10 meters from halfway, was clearly like, boxing kick into the 10-meter line on the Irish side, 40-meter on the Irish side, and also if they do recover the ball around the halfway point, they're just clearly trying to put the ball down into the corners, trying to even getting a goal line dropout will be a good result. So yes, just really shutting down. It's like really actually like very clinical, very accurate kicking game from the Welsh side. Didn't really work out overall due to the other parts of the game wasn't clicking for them. But I do think that at least there's a very clear strategy to the Welsh attack. Unlike last year, I didn't feel like there was a clear direction. Under Gatlin, there was a very clear direction for the Welsh team. But regardless, the Irish team was extremely polished, quite comfortably beat the Welsh. So second half, the Irish were just like practicing tackling essentially. And like I was saying, I did feel like this Irish team was so polished, so good. I think maybe the last time I saw something this polished was the All Blacks team in like 2012, 2013. But yeah, this is quite impressive performances for the Irish team. So going to next weekend against the big match for the Irish team against France in Dublin, there will be again without Ty Furlong, one of the big props that they really heavily rely on for their set piece. For next weekend, he was out already this week against Wales, so he will be out again next week. And furthermore, the Irish team has suffered 2 more injuries due to Gibson Parks and Cian Healy, both withdrawn just before the kickoff due to hamstring injuries. So Caelan Blade and Michael Millen will be called into the squad to cover for Ireland. So yeah, that's the Ireland situation. So there was also a lot of talk about Johnny Sexton after the game. He was obviously, Andy Farrell has talked. People were obviously concerned about his age, yada yada yada. He did have another head knock this game, which he will be seeing. He did pass concussion test on the field, but he will be going through further assessment before he's cleared completely to play for France this weekend. So obviously there was a bit of a talk about whether about his age once again in the media. I personally thought Johnny Sexton's performance was really good. I thought he was physical. He was actually a lot more physical than if I was Andy Farrell, I would probably like him to be. He was a lot more physical, getting involved in a lot of those he was actually getting involved in the game almost like a forward at times, in those rocks, in those mauls, in those breakdowns. I feel like he probably would be more physical than it was necessary at times, considering that they really need him to be healthy as much as possible. But yeah, I was impressed. He didn't. I mean, credits to this man. His determination, his professionalism as one of the best in the history of Ireland. So yeah, there was. So hopefully he'll be okay this weekend, but he most likely will be available to play despite the slight head knock on the weekend. So Warren Gallen obviously came out and thought that discipline and penalties was an issue for Wales. I did think that probably a bit more than that. I did think that the discipline penalty is one of the issues. I did think that the set piece was horrendous. There was so many lineouts that was inside the Irish 22. Lost due to both pressured and unpressured errors. So yeah, wasn't very pleased about that. The discipline actually, to be fair, has improved from like last year November. So I thought it was just the polish was a little bit off for the Welsh team overall. Next up, obviously, the Wales Rugby Union is under investigation at the moment. I guess not under, it has been accused of a toxic working culture for harassment, sexism, racism or whatever not. There was a lot of accusations against the union. And basically, an independent probe has been launched to look into Wales Rugby Union's conduct in recent times. This will be headed by a person named Anne Rafferty, who is a former judge, court appeal judge. But anyway, there will be an independent panel going to review the accusation of the Wales toxic culture. The last week, I think the CEO, was it the CEO or one of the heads of the Wales Rugby Union stepped down because of the accusations. And as a result of the accusations, Wales also banned the singing of this song called Delilah, the song Delilah. I don't know the song. I know there's a lot of songs that the Welsh sings. They like singing a lot in their rugby matches, and allegedly this song had lyrics that referred to domestic abuse. So as a result, of being accused of toxic culture, the Welsh Rugby Union had banned the singing of their song during the rugby matches. And obviously, the fans are not happy. Just because you're toxic doesn't mean the fans are toxic. And singing a traditional song that everybody enjoys is not really an indicator of a toxic. It's not really an indicator that the fans are gonna be toxic. So the fans were not happy, and in defiance, a lot of fans sang the song regardless of the Welsh Union's directives. Next up, this is probably the biggest surprise of the weekend. Italy 24, France 29. Italy was truly in this game. In the second half, Italy actually took the lead before, I think it was Jalibert scored that final try. Jalibert to pull the France ahead. And right in the dying minutes, the Italians was swinging for the fences, trying to put in that final try to win the game-winning try against France, but wasn't able to do so. So France was kind of got lucky to get out of jail this one against Italy. They were definitely in the back foot, especially in the second half. In the first half, the French looked pretty confident and comfortable, but it was a lot of. I thought there was a few things that the Italians did a lot better than the French. The scrummaging, I thought, was surprisingly good for the Italians, and also the set piece was also surprisingly better than forward set piece was surprisingly better than what I was expecting. There was a penalty try given to the Italians because Charles Olivon sacked the maul illegally to stop a try, and just something that I would not expect French to be struggling with is the rolling maul defense and the scrummaging, and the Italians, credits to them. I was impressed. I was impressed by the fundamentals, and obviously Capuzzo, the try scoring sensation for the Italians, put on a try into the corner for the Italians as well in the first half. But overall, discipline was also a big issue for the French. Too many breakdown penalties as well. So Galtier would not be happy after this performance. As they say, he was left with a bitter taste after the win. And going into Dublin, the French need to do a lot better to be able to come out with anything of a win that is against the Irish. Not looking good for the French fans. Next up, so Eddie Jones has started his own podcast to compete against me, obviously. And he has really emphasized a lot so far is to make rugby a talking point once again in the Australian society, which is something that I completely agree with. So he's kind of went on to the news. He's been on the news a lot, despite after just trying to stir up interest, trying for rugby, which I think is just doing great work. Like how often have we read a news interview out of Dave Rennie in the last 2 years? I read news every week. I don't remember actually. I don't actually can't recall a single. Maybe one before the Bledisloe at the breakdown or something, but I really can't remember Dave Rennie actively going out talking to the media. But Jones is at it. He's really emphasized about creating interest for rugby and really want people to talk about rugby on and off the field. And I think he's doing an absolutely amazing job already in that regards in approaching his job. And as a result, like I said, he started a podcast. At his first episode, he dropped the podcast. He's kind of like already trying to stir up interest once again, especially amongst the other codes. He's talked about how AFL and NRL being really successful domestically in Australia, but don't have the international backing. And he thinks that with the international backing of the Rugby Union has an opportunity to overtake both codes to be the premier kind of sport in Australia. And hopefully Eddie Jones get us there. It would be really, it doesn't have to the premier sport. Just on par with AFL and NRL would be really good. At the moment, I'm pretty sure rugby is below soccer in Australia. Yeah, so yeah, not good at all. Dying sport. So Eddie Jones is at that. Next up, we've got what happened here? Just a thing. Yeah. So next up, we've got there was some talks about Tanela Tupou's contract is coming up at the end of the Rugby World Cup. There was some talks about where he wants to go afterwards. So at the moment, he's talking about potentially staying in Australia. He's a really important tight head prop for the Australians because, all of our tight head prop has been poached by New Zealand. Terrell Lomax, for example. So now we have to poach other people's props. Anyway, so Tupou wants to talk. Obviously, money is an important part for all these players. Wants to talk money, but I really hope that he stays. But he's talking about potentially wanting to stay in Australia due to the Lions tour coming up, and he wants to play against the British and Irish Lions. And next up, we've got Matt Giddo, one of the greats of Australian rugby, a guy who was plucked from obscurity to the Wallabies by Eddie Jones, has retired. So Eddie Jones has started a new coaching career in the Wallabies, and Matt Giddo started his career under Eddie Jones, and Matt Giddo has started his career and under Eddie Jones, and he's ended his career, has announced retirement last week. Yeah, it shows you how long Eddie Jones has been in the game. And next up, we've got some All Blacks leaving obviously leaving New Zealand by the end of the Rugby World Cup. So obviously there was some speculations going around. So it's been confirmed last week that Aaron Smith and Beauden Barrett will be leaving to Japanese League One and playing for Toyota Verblitz. And Bodie Retallick, as reported last week, was already leaving for Japan, but he's signed with Kobe Steelers. So there were some speculations that Beauden Barrett was going to go to Racing 92 under Stuart Lancaster and to replace Finn Russell. It doesn't look like that to be the case. The rumors didn't come to fruition. So yeah, Beauden Barrett going to Japan League One. I mean, he's played in Japan already. For already like in 2020. 21 or was it 21? I think it was during the pandemic. 22. It's either 2020 or 2021. I think it was 2020 because like they played in the winter. So I think it was 2020 and 21. So he already played in Japan during that season, like of sabbatical. So now he's going back to Japan. I was surprised that he's decided to go back to Japan again. And obviously the easy money. I thought he might have been more interested to go to France for a different experience, but hey, he's confirmed not going to Racing 92, which is important. And Bodie is gone. Super Rugby is going to be a little bit less exciting. And anyway, next up, Adi Savia has confirmed as well going to Kobe Steelers with Brodie Retallick. And yeah, he kind of like clarified his position, wants to make more money for his family. Looking after himself in the future. Also, some news from New Zealand as well. It is came out last week that it is expected that the new All Blacks coach will be announced before the Rugby World Cup. So, Sir Fozzie will be technically officially replaced before his run ends with the All Blacks. So yeah, there was some media came out criticizing this sort of like movement in New Zealand rugby. They do feel like it's a bit disrespectful to already have some replacement lining up before Foster's run at the World Cup is over. It doesn't show much confidence, and also definitely affects his mental mental performances at the World Cup. So yeah, I hope they don't actually announce a replacement before the World Cup. Anyway, so this year there will be 2 test matches it is a Rugby World Cup year. There will be 2 test matches in New Zealand this year. So one against Australia, one against South Africa, and then New Zealand, having played 2 tests against the Argentina, will be going to Argentina for the 1 test in Argentina. So in the World Cup year this year, there will be only 3 official. There'll be only 3 official Rugby Championship matches, 1 against each nation. and there will be one additional match against Australia for the Wildkard Cup. So basically 4 test matches. And then I'm pretty sure there's a warm-up match against the Springboks at Twickenham before the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, there's only 3 official Rugby Championship matches, and there will be one against Springboks will be at Mount Smart Stadium, and the one against the Wildkard Cup will be at Dunedin under the roof. So anyway, next up, so yeah, there was also some talks about obviously there was some talk about the future of Dave Rennie after being sacked by the Wallabies. It has been confirmed that he will not be taking any form in the All Blacks coach, and there was some saying that he's going to be returning to a potential Super Rugby role in potentially one of the New Zealand's, maybe the Chiefs again, because Gatland has been recalled to Wales, so potentially Dave Rennie could rejoining the Chiefs, his former club, in the Super Rugby. And obviously, all this talk about Dave Rennie being great and, unfairly sacked by Rugby Australia. The All Blacks are not going to be having him as head coach anytime soon, right? That's the bottom line. Finally, last bit of news. Hambosi, probably the most exciting player in the Fijian Enduros in the Super Rugby, has been sacked by their club. Yeah, he will not be playing in Super Rugby this year. Really disappointing. I was looking forward to see him play, to be honest. And basically, there was no exact details on what happened, but the statement came out of the club said that due to a high-level breach of club code of conduct, sounds very serious, Hambosi has been sacked. He had been signed to Racing 92, so he will be going to Racing 92 after the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, between now and the Rugby World Cup, he will not be playing any professional rugby essentially, and that's going to be really not ideal for his Fijian national team. So there was no further explanation of what exactly happened, but yeah, he's sacked. So anyway, that's the news, guys, this week. Thanks for watching. We'll be doing previews on Friday, and as soon as the team is announced on Friday. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you being here. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later this week for the previews. Cheers.